We all love and know the Nintendo 64 cart, but did Nintendo make the right choice going down the cart path, or should have they given in and gone the CD-ROM back when they first were developing games for the Nintendo 64? I'm going to break it down for you right now why they made this decision. Was it the right one? Was it a wrong one? Well, here is my take on that. Let's start with storage. A Nintendo 64 cart has 64 megabyte storage, compared to a CD-ROM has up to 650 megabyte storage. So right there, guys, that is huge. Nintendo limited themselves with only 64 megabyte compared to a CD-ROM, which they could have done for 650 megabyte. There's plenty of examples on games where, instead of like actual voice talking, it's just a text box. Less cutscenes because they didn't have the storage. They had to find ways to shrink it down. So Nintendo 64 has just under 400 games developed on the N64. That's not a lot, to be honest. One of the reasons was third-party developers. Third-party developers had limited space. So they decided, well, we might go make some games for PlayStation where the storage is bigger. We can do more talking, more visuals, more creative art and background scenes. Like they could do so much more compared to a Nintendo 64. Nintendo carts also cost more to produce compared to a CD-ROM. So again, Nintendo, is losing third-party developers because they don't have the space. It costs more to produce, but again, they were pretty determined to stick with the cart. Another reason was third-party developers were being charged a lot more money. So I love Nintendo, right? Nintendo fanboy, I'm a collector, N64, my favorite console and gaming library of all time. But in terms of third-party developers, they were charging them a lot more to develop on their games. So third-party people were like, let's see, we can go over to, say, PlayStation, where we're going to have more storage, not going to charge as much. So they lost a lot of audience there. But, Nintendo at the time, they thought they were king, rulers of the world, but it did not work out there. But there are advantages of the Nintendo 64 cart. So why did they do this? One of the main reasons Nintendo said, no, we're doing carts is piracy. Piracy in the mid-90s was getting huge. Things were getting burnt and copied. So there's a lot more piracy games out there and movies and, music, whatever. That was becoming a massive issue back then. So Nintendo said, you know what? We're going to stick with our carts so that doesn't happen. So that's one advantage right there. Another advantage, and their best one, is longevity. All you need to do is basically put this in and it works. Doesn't work, give it a blow, it'll work. PlayStation games, CD-ROM, a lot of them had scratches. You put it in, Ring of Death just didn't work. So that was a massive advantage Nintendo had there by sticking to their traditional carts. I think it's quite impressive that you think of some of the games. Zelda Ocarina of Time, Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, GoldenEye 007. Can you imagine GoldenEye 007 with actual more cutscenes, more talking audio? What they did with the storage they had was fantastic. So developers, Nintendo had to be so much more creative and I think so much more careful about what they put into a game. In the long run, was it the right decision for Nintendo to make carts? No, it wasn't. They lost third-party developers. It was cheaper to make games on the PlayStation, and they eventually gave in because the Nintendo GameCube, their next generational console, they went the discs because that was just the way of the world. If they went discs, maybe on the N64, would have they lost as many third-party developers as they did? I know some over time have slowly come back in, but then they went to different areas, licensing issue. It sort of became a bit of a hairy spot there with the GameCube and the Wii. Don't get me wrong, the GameCube and Wii have fantastic gaming libraries, but if you think about what different sort of variety of games you can get on the Super Nintendo, the 64, I understand there's licensing issue with sports games and wrestling, whatever, but it had a bigger variety of things compared to what happened today. So yes, they saved money. They didn't save money. They saved damage. They didn't want their product being copied. If you wanted to play a Nintendo game, you had to buy the game. You had to buy the system. You're not going to get a a burnt copy of a card out there. Even though it was able to still be done, it was a lot harder than just your average Joe Blow at home burning a disc of a game. Here it is. You can have a copy of that game too. So that's the path they went down there. But in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts. Did Nintendo make the right call with carts, or should have they jumped on the CD-ROM on the N64 generation? Did they do it one too late? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks, guys. We'll chat again soon.